the German B line, and we're going to have a commanding view of the battlefield that the 36th Ulster Division fought on the 1st of July 1916. If anyone knows Gormy McMullen, Gormy writes the poems, and he wrote a thing called A Night in Thiepval Wood, and he basically said to me that he was going to read it out on Ulster Tour. My words to Gormy was, Gormy, bring the poem along, listen to what I'm going to say, and it's up to you when you read out the poem. After, he just looked at me with tears in his eyes and went, Phil, this is the best place to read the poem. And there was one regret that I had, is we should have recorded it, because her emotional reading out that poem, and it was about a soldier's last night in that wood, which is to your left hand side, guys. Yep. So where we are now in relation to the Battle of the Somme, you're with the 32nd Division, you're right on the German front line, and where the wood line is there, guys, yeah, that is the British front line. So do you remember what I was saying to you? The hands and the fate of my division is not in the hands of my own men, but in other people. And what he meant was, that's an uphill attack. That is an uphill attack. Yep. Well, we might even do better than that. We might phone Gormy up and ask them to do it, will we? After Ulster Tour on the way to Kilcluney. Gourmet. So we're still in the sector of the 32nd Division, and can you see the objective for the 36th Ulster Division was to take this village. Does anybody know what you call this village? Yes. So that was the objective. That was the objective of the 32nd Division. The 36th Ulster Division. Sorry, I thought you were going for lunch. I was going, Johan is hungry. So the objective of the 36th Ulster Division was along here. Yep. So to my left, go up over the hill, and I think Johan's probably going to go on down a little bit to turn. Yep. Turn here, no? B-line, then up over the hill on the way down is going to be the C-line, and that's where the Schraben Redoubt. You always hear that name, the Schraben Redoubt? We're going to show you exactly where the Schraben Redoubt is. Watching the attack, and this is where Major General Nugent is very, very critical of Captain Spender, is that he basically turns around and says, from this point here, it's very, very difficult with the dead ground. Just over the dead ground there is that due down into the Schraben Redoubt. The final objective for the 36th Ulster Division was probably just short of that next tree line, and it's probably about a quarter of a mile before the village of Grandcourt. Can you see why some people think Grandcourt is Batlander? The reason being is it was their objective, but it wasn't the village. What would have came along was the 48th Division would have came along, took over the attack, and they would have took the village of Grandcourt. That was not to be. give you appreciation of the ground, because I know a lot of you have probably heard me mentioning divisions, numbers, and you probably went, whoa, that's went over the head. The first thing I'm going to say is, does everyone see Thiepval Memorial straight in front of me? Yep. If you go down to the tree line, go a wee bit further, that is the German A line. So the 32nd Division are at the other side of the wood, and they're fighting up that hill. Does that make sense? Yep. The Ulster Division is along here, it goes on down, and then you have the River Ancra. Separating the River Ancra is 2 battalions. You have the 12th Battalion Central Antrim of the Royal Irish Rifles, and you also have 9th Battalion of the Royal Irish Fusiliers, the Armagh. So the best way to give this, does everyone see the farm straight in front of me? Start going over. Does everyone see the pylon? Just go over like slightly. That's their trench system. And it goes up to the other pylon, which was commonly known as John Redmond. Beyond that, does everyone see the tree line? That is the 29th Division. All part of the 4th Army. So you have, to the left-hand side of them 2 battalions, the 29th Division, and to the right-hand side of the 36th Ulster Division, you have the 32nd Division. So, in the wood, you have the 109th Brigade. I'm going to explain it. 9th Battalion of the Royal Enniskillen Fusiliers. Then you have the 10th Battalion of the Royal Enniskillen Fusiliers. Then you have the 11th Battalion behind Emmons. And then you have the 14th Battalion of the Royal Irish Rifles, YCV. So, they're in the wood, ready to attack. To the left of Emmons, you can't see it, but as you start going down the hill where Ulster Tower is, we have 2 battalions of the 108th Brigade. We have the 11th, which are the South Antrim Volunteers, and then you have the County Downs. You heard the story of Richard McCracken. I was down there that happened to him. So, what's going to split the Ulster Division is a river called the Ancra River. That side, where the farmyard is, 2 battalions fighting unsupported. Coming up the wood, the 11th and 13th Rifles, supported by the 15th Battalion of the Royal Irish Rifles. And then you have the 109th Brigade. Tyrones, the Derrys, the Donegals, and then you have the YCVs. In support, you have the 107th Brigade. Bear in mind that the 15th Battalion, which is the North Belfast Volunteers, are supporting 2 battalions at the bottom of the wood. It's going to be east, west, and south. And that's where they're going to attack from. However, when we're driving up, that was called Sunken Lane. So what the 36th Ulster Division done, they got out of the trenches and snook into Sunken Lane. That was going to give them a head start for the attack. Down below, but you can't see it, near the river, there's a little village called Saint-Pierre Division. Yep, you'll read about it in the books about the Battle of the Somme. We get to here, which is the B line. Behind us, on down, is a lot of dead ground. So can you see why people couldn't, they could follow the battle to here, the generals. But after that, they found it very, very difficult to follow the battle because there was dead ground. So what we relied on was runners to come back. So, General Nugent, on the eve of battle, writes to his wife, "The fate of this division is not in the hands of my own men. It's in the hands of other divisions." Can anybody tell me why? Look at that attack.
32 had to go up a hill.
Up a hill. An uphill attack. Before he was appointed divisional commander, he was an experienced soldier fighting in the Ypres salient. And he knew that uphill attacks were very, very unlikely to be successful. And that's what he meant by that. Because he knew if the 32nd Division couldn't secure them lines, what do you think the Germans are going to do?
Flick.
Flick over. Yep. Another thing that we hadn't put in was the Schraben Redoubt. The Schraben Redoubt was underground fortress. That is the best way to describe it. And they had a tunnel system for the Germans that took them. There's actually a tunnel at the back of Ulster Tower. Ulster Tower stands on the A line. So if you look at Ulster Tower, you look at Mill Road Cemetery, you go on down and you sort of do a half moon shape across that field. That was the German A line. A few villages that I want to point out. You see where that farmyard is? Start making your way down. You see a church tower? Straight in front of me? That's Hamel. We were already in front of Hamel. So can you see why Hamel is not a battlelanner for the 36th Ulster Division? If everyone follows the tree line at the top of that hill, work your way down. There's a little village. Does everyone see the church tower? That was Beaumont Hamel. Yep. That was the task of the 29th Division. So, had that village been taken, it wasn't the Ulster Division. That belonged to the 29th Division. So can everyone see why Beaumont Hamel is not a battlelanner for the 36th Ulster Division? Because their task was not to take them. Straight ahead is the village of Tash.
Albert.
No, the village. Yes, the one straight in front of me where that big monument is. Thiepval.
Thiepval.
Yep. And again, that was the objective of the 32nd Division. Yep. So, the Ulster Division sneak forward and they're all ready for the attack. For the purpose of this, we're going to follow the attack of the two battalions that's unsupported. 0730, whistles blow. The boys start going across. Yep. There's only, unfortunately, our artillery barrage only opens certain parts of the wire. Where do you think the German machine guns are pointed in the direction of? Them gaps. After 3 unsuccessive attacks, the attack breaks down. Our men are wounded, stranded, and nowhere to go. The attack there completely breaks down. The lads are told, we're going to go over again, we're waiting on orders. There's soldiers out in them fields right in front of me, belonging to the 36th Ulster Division, wounded, trying to crawl back into their own lines. Any movement in that battlefield, a German soldier is going to put his machine gun or fire rifle shots at you. Yep. So the attack completely breaks down. Not only for the 2 battalions of the 36th Ulster Division, but to the top of the hill and a bit further is the 29th Division. That doesn't go well, that fails. The attack on the left-hand flank of the 36th Ulster Division has broke down. We're going to now look at the 32nd Division. As soon as they come out, they're walking up. Guys, can we keep the noise down? So they're starting to attack uphill. As soon as they move out, they're mowed down. They are sitting ducks because the Germans are up in the high ground, the machine guns are on them, and they're all falling. However, in this sector, particularly this sector, the 36th Ulster Division, they're not going to walk towards their trenches, they're going to run. So by the time they get to the German A line, the Germans haven't come up yet, and they're able to secure the A line. Once they secure the A line, they start moving up to the B line. However, down at the other side, where you have the 11th and 13th Rifles, when they start moving, the machine gun fire from St. Pierre Division starts to hit them. And when soldiers are starting to fall and know the machine gun fire is coming from their left, what are they going to start doing? Moving away from it, moving away to the right. So they start moving a wee bit more away from it. St. Pierre Division is not cleared of the German machine gunners. The guys come to the B line, secure the B line, And then they start going towards the sea line. At this stage here, the generals are on treetops just at the other side of that hill, watching it. Everything is going well for the 36th Ulster Division. 32nd Division attack has failed. The 2 battalions of the of the 36th Ulster Division attack has failed, and to their left, the 29th Division attack has failed. However, we have got and captured trenches, and we start moving towards the sea line. As we move towards the sea line, our final objective is going to be the D line. And a decision has to be made, because we have the 107th Brigade who are in support. Corps commander is a general called General Moorland. General Moorland asks for a sit rep, and what we mean is, what's the situation? What's happening? General Nugent tells him, don't be sending them in. The 32nd Division have not made their objectives, and my right-hand flank is exposed. Can you see why? The attack has broke down. The Germans ain't just going to scratch their heads and go, what we're going to do now? They're going to put their machine guns and fire at anything's moving. Yep. He's also told them that the attack just outside Hamel has failed, and the 29th Division have not made any ground at all. So that side and that side, the Germans are firing upon the 36th Ulster Division. Yes, we're capturing prisoners because the A and B line was taken by surprise. We're starting to move them down. Can you imagine being a British troop and you see German soldiers? You're going to think psychologically this attack is going all right. The problem is it's a dead ground. Yep. So Moorland says, General Moorland says to General Nugent, right, send the 107th into the attack. Nugent pleads with him and says, sir, can we not wait? This attack's not going well. But you think about it, we've gained ground. So what we need to do now is consolidate this with more troops. So he sends the 107th Brigade into this attack. As soon as they leave, the field telephone goes. Who do you think it is? General Moorland. Yep, don't send them. It's too late. They're in the attack. The problem is communication. They know that they have secured the B line, but the boys are starting to wonder, there's Germans coming up behind us. They're shrubbing no doubt tunnels. There's soldiers moving in towards them trenches. We get to the sea line and we're looking, securing it, and then we move to the D line. The commanders at this stage here had sent runners back to give progress. The Germans concentrated all their fire in no man's land. Can anybody tell me why? To stop troops, ammunition coming forward. So that was a massive, massive barrier. Do you remember what I told you also about the 36th Ulster Division running? And they were ahead of no man's land anyway in Sunken Lane. Well, that's going to be a downfall, because our timed artillery barrage meant that our artillery was on a time scale. We were ahead of the time scale. So the best way to say, there's our troops. It's going to fall upon them. So soldiers, there was a guy said to me, blue on blue, was it yourself? What you would turn around and say is, it's not the artillery's fault. They're going by their timings. However, the artillery's going to fall upon us. Right and left-hand flanks move their machine guns, and all fire is on the 36th Ulster Division. They're fighting soldiers at the front. They're fighting soldiers on their left. They're fighting soldiers on the right. And what I mean by the left and right, that's fire, machine gun fire coming in. They're dealing with the artillery barrage that's coming in. And of course, what you're having is soldiers coming down from the Strabane Redoubt, popping up after you think that area is cleared. So this was A horrific place to be in, but so historic for the 36th Ulster Division. Troops who are down at the bottom of the wood are starting to come up, and this is where you get all the units starting to get mixed up. Yeah. When they get to the D-line, the Germans are counterattacking. They're sending all their troops in. They want to regain this part of land. Yep. The 36th Ulster Division has no option but to retire. They go back to the sea line. They hold the sea line. And what they're doing at this stage, they're running out of ammunition. They're taking the ammunition off the dead soldiers, their comrades, to keep off. And also what you have to remember as well, they're still dealing with incoming fire coming in from both flanks. The sea line is unmanageable. And basically what's asked and what's told, we retire to the B line. So they retire to this area that we are now, and they try and hold it. The Germans have known that they've pushed us back. The Germans know that no advance has been made to the right where the 32nd Division is, nor to the 2 battalions at the other side of the Anchor River, nor the 29th Division. We have no option but to retire back to Mill Road Cemetery, just where them guys are there. Do you see them in the cemetery? We retire back there. We're holding and holding the line, and what do you think's going to happen? We have no option. We're running out of men. We have no supplies, and we go back to our starting position, which is the wood. The 2 battalions on the left-hand side, they were told they were going to go back into the attack. It was decided we're not going to win here. So it's ironic, and we'll talk about this later on, that 2 Victoria Crosses are going to be awarded to Ulster Division soldiers. What for? Bringing in casualties. Yeah, and we'll talk about that. In the wood, prior to the attack, a Victoria Cross recipient was going to be, which we call him Rifleman, Willie McFadden, and basically he's going to be priming the grenades when the Germans are starting to shell. He'll drop the grenades and he'll throw himself on top of it. Also, a Victoria Cross is going to be one in this, of trying to stop the enemy and rallying soldiers. So we're going to get 4 Victoria Crosses, and we're going to talk about the Victoria Cross recipients later on. So, the wounded soldiers, and you heard from Richard McCracken, even if you moved, they were still targeting you. So what they were trying to do was to get into shell holes, and to get home what they had to do was wait for the cover of darkness. At the cover of darkness, the lucky ones who were wounded and could get back went back down into the wood. The attack for the Ulster Division, there was no ground on the night of the 1st of July that they knew that we still held. The next morning, the wood is under the command of the 107th Brigade, the Belfast Brigade. And they look out, and just to, if anyone sees Ulster Tower, just to the right of Ulster Tower goes down the A-line, and they see troops still fighting and holding the A-line. So we're going to send out troops. Everyone talks about the charge on the 1st of July. There's going to be 2 on the 2nd of July as well. So what we want to try and do is we send our pioneers in, and we're trying to dig saps. The enemy see what we're doing, and they start throwing over artillery. Too dangerous. So we decide to send the Belfast Brigade over the top. The West Belfast officer is in charge of that party, and they all start coming out of the wood into the trench to reinforce that trench. The North Belfast boys are second, and they have 100 soldiers. 50% of them will become casualties, because when the other troops get in, the Germans realised what was happening, and 50% of that party became casualties. When the officer got in, he went, "Who's in charge?" And this corporal called Saunders put up his hand and says, "Me, sir." He would later be given the Victoria Cross for his actions down there. So hard his party was that his unit went out to reinforce the 36th Ulster Division, but part of his party also was the wounded and mixed up men from the 36th Ulster Division. If you think of the trench system being one big line, they had to hold off attacks from their left and attacks from the right from the Germans. And the prize that we had was a short section of a line. 5,500 soldiers wounded, missing or killed. Out of all their dead, between 72 and 76% approximately have no known grave. Where you stand now, when we walk back, I have no doubt at all there's soldiers underneath this ground. Yep, this was the killing ground for the 36th Ulster Division. The 36th Ulster Division wrote to the British Army had a committee who were in charge of Batlanders, and they wrote twice, I think 3 times, to them asking for Thiepval to be part of their Batlanders. But can you see? Can we all see? So they were refused. However, the old comrades believed that Thiepval was there. So when you go into St Anne's Cathedral, that's where you see Thiepval on the Batlanders. And what they turn around and say is that's where they fought. So that's why they wanted to have it there. Can everyone see the battle now? So when I was saying 32nd Division, 29th Division, and all the brigades, this is where it is. Does anybody have any questions? Must be one. Must be one.
Is that the skylarks we're here? You always hear them talking about the skylarks.
That's enough. That's enough. Yeah. So one thing I'm saying is, it's very, very hard to get that appreciation, isn't it? Because we're talking the crops and all here, and the fields would have been bare, would have been open ground. But what I'm turning around saying, look at that uphill attack from 32nd Division. And remember, the fate of my men is not in the hands of my division. It's in the hands of other divisions. And a lot of people will turn around and say that the 32nd Division and the 29th Division let the 36th Ulster Division down. No, they didn't. They were brave men. The problem was the objective was so difficult. It was so difficult. The British Army, for that week bombardment, believed that no man could survive that. And because the spotter planes were going round and seeing no Germans, they believed that they were all dead. Some of these guys, when they came out, not the 36th Ulster Division, because they done their dash. And I must say one more thing. A lot of the brethren asked me, did they wear their sashes? I believe that they had their sashes underneath their tunic, because if your general officer commanding tells no CO to go over the top, they're petrified, aren't they, of him? So can you imagine what the men were? I have no doubt when they were in Sunken Road, the brethren put their sashes on. I have no doubt at all. Who's going to stop them? They're in the attack. And that's when I believe that the brethren, looking at records and different things, that's when they would have put it on. They would have had their sashes underneath their tunics, and when they got into no man's land before the attack, I believe that they put them on. So they definitely wore sashes. A lot of historians will turn around and say no, I believe, because you hear when some of them are writing home, they're basically saying we wore our sashes under our tunics, and you go to yourself, why? Because there's a lot of generals and there's a lot of officers, aren't you, on your way up? Can you imagine where are you going with that? You know what I mean? So they wore it underneath, and when they got there, that's what the charge was of no surrender. You heard they're above bombardment, it's against them. So we're going to analyse this battle. And this is the war diary. So why did the men run? Why were the men in front of the artillery barrage?
No communication for the timings through the commanders.
No, there was what was given, the eagerness of the men to get into battle. And that's going to be a downfall for them. But guys, I really hope that you enjoyed it. as I say, I take all the groups up here because on the bus you'll hear us saying divisions, numbers, battalions. When you're here, you see it all. So thanks very much. Oh, yeah, Phil. I needed that.